Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, and this is the preview live stream to the Bournemouth Everton game. It's the third round of the Carabao Cup match preview. So we'll get into everything, what it means, and sort of not just for the wider of the tournament, but what it means right now, the current state of the football club, and anything else you guys discuss in the comments. How I think we'll fare. Just a little bit of a run through of the history of Everton Bournemouth, where they sit in the league, where we sit in the league, all that good stuff, and basically just talk about how I think we'll get on tomorrow. And we'll probably discuss the team a little bit because the last time I checked, there were 3 injuries that were meant to undergo scans today that should have undergone scans today, according to Paddy Boyland of The Athletic. And that is Garner Gay, Onana, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a hamstring. There is also rumours that Yerry Mina might be back amongst the fold, which is nice to see, obviously, but I wouldn't risk Yerry Mina, in all honesty. I know he's meant to be fit, but yeah. And we'll talk about the bench as well, because Lampard said about the youngsters. So expect the likes of Stanley Mills, Tom Cannon, Reece Welch, maybe even Carl John to be there. Because when they say they'll give youth a go, they're the main. I think they're the main ones from the under 21s that people are excited to see. Obviously with Sims and Dobbin out on loan, they then end up being the next ones that we all want to see. So So without further ado, first things first, we'll look through the sort of history of Everton and Bournemouth, the head-to-heads. First of all, I want to say hi to Erwin in the chat, and David B. Erwin straight off the bat asking, he said he's going for a 3-1 win, and would I start Begovic? We can start with the lineup that I think he'll go with to start it all off. That'll be a good place to start. Philip Mason's put time DCL was got rid of. At this rate, I don't think anyone would buy him, unfortunately. I think fully fit, he's a fantastic player and vital, but nobody's going to buy a player that's got their injury troubles at the minute. It's why I think Yerry Mina more than likely will have his contract run down. We're not going to get any money on him for the same reason at the minute. Hopefully Calvert-Lewin can shake his, but Yerry Mina's sort of at the same sort of, every time he comes back, he gets hurt again. But yeah, to answer your question, Owen, I think he is going to play Begovic. I wouldn't personally play Begovic. I play as strong a team as you can, really, for the next 2 games, because we're going to have the World Cup break. And realistically, without sounding horrible, there's a lot of these lads that probably aren't going to go to the World Cup. So they've got a lot of time to gel, work on stuff while the other teams are out there. Other teams' players are out there. I'd play a strong squad, but I think he will start Begovic as a cup keeper. I don't want to, diss Begovic, but he's no Jordan Pickford, and the standards between the two are quite glaring. Josh O'Connor's put thoughts on Keane heading out on loan. I'd prefer a sale, obviously, because we need the money. But realistically, if it's a loan with an option to buy and he goes out to a team that's impressed and he impresses and a team that suits him, that's easy. I think they'll take that. It's if he goes out to the right team. But yeah, I think his Everton career, Michael Keane's, is sort of done, isn't it? You got Holgate that I think Lampard likes more, and obviously Ben Godfrey as well, who Lampard likes more. So they're the 2 main ones. Like I said, we'll go through teams. So I think he'll start Begovic. I'm hoping he starts Nathan Patterson to give him some game time. I think he'll start Connor Cody and Tarkowski. I don't think he's going to start Yerry Mina, just because I think we know how that ends. If he starts Yerry Mina, it ends with Yerry Mina coming off at half-time. Left back, I don't know. I think he'll start Mikolenko, but you never know if he starts Vinagre. But I think Vinagre could end up being played as a winger in this game because we've only got 3 wingers. So we need, in McNeil, Gray and Gordon. So we need to rotate them a little bit more. So you bring Vinagre in and you can take the 2 wingers that played against Leicester and completely switch them around. I think he's going to play Garner where Guay normally plays. I think he's going to play Decore where Onana normally plays. And then I think he'll play Iwobi, in all honesty, because we don't have another player like Iwobi in the fact of maybe a 10, if you want to argue that, or the more free pushing forward of a free man. Because let's be realistic, Tom Davis isn't that type of player. You wouldn't switch him for Tom Davis. Iwobi's really our only creative midfielder in that aspect, which is why I think midfield's very important during the January transfer window, and maybe a winger, but a creative midfielder. When we were linked with Eriksen, which we were never going to get once the likes of United were coming in, but he'd be a really good type of player for that role. But I think he'll start Iwobi. Then I think he'll start McNeil and Gordon and Moipai up front because Dominic Calvert-Lewin is injured as well. Hamstring injury. I think here's his hamstring. Guay's might be a quad or something, and Onana's his ankle. So it is tough out here at the minute, all these injuries, but I think that's the lineup he's going to go with. I'd argue that's a lineup that should be beating Bournemouth. We'll go through Bournemouth now, who sit currently just above the relegation zone with 13 points, just above Southampton, who've now sacked their manager. So they're going to get a new manager bounce in the first game, a bit like Villa did. Apparently they're after Nathan Jones of Luton. It's an interesting one. Not big spenders, are they really, Southampton, in sort of that, but it's an interesting one. I think sacking Hasenhüttl, don't know how to feel about it because this time last year, they were really, really good, then fell away. I guess they're sort of thinking now, if they fall away in the back end, like his teams normally do at Southampton, then they're going to be in big trouble. So I guess they're trying to nip that in the bud. And if you're going to sack your manager, now's the best time to do it. You've got a couple of months break while the World Cup goes on. Get him in. Again, not many. I don't know how many of the Southampton lads are going to the World Cup. Get him in, get him training, get him to know the team. You're ready to go by the time the season restarts. It is a perfect time to sack your manager if you were going to. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, Bournemouth sit 1 point above. Their form is pretty bad. They drew against Fulham, which isn't that bad. We drew against Fulham. Then they lost to Southampton, lost to West Ham, lost to Tottenham, but they gave Tottenham a good game, to be fair. It was 3-2. Tottenham are a team that sort of look out of sorts at the minute. And then their latest loss came against Leeds United in what was a really, really mad game. It's really crazy on last Saturday, that was. So, their form is pretty dreadful. Ours is not much better. We obviously lost to Tottenham, lost to Newcastle, beat Palace 3-0. Then we drew with Fulham, so same as them. And then we lost to Leicester in what was, I know we just done the Leicester, so I won't fog down it, but it's pretty limp. It was pretty limp, wasn't it? It's a bit like the Newcastle game. It was pretty, and the United game, it was pretty. I think this season's going to be full of ups and downs, and that was certainly a down. And one way you look at it and you go, really? And don't get me wrong, Leicester is still a good team, regardless of the fact that they're falling away here. They shouldn't be where they are. It's a false position. They've got some great players, and nobody stops that Tillman strike. That I watched the highlights, and wow, that strike, nobody stops that. Incredible. But that being said, we sit just above Bournemouth in the league, and we are a point above them. We've got the same amount of wins. We've got one more draw and one less loss, which is why we finished a point above them. It should be interesting to see what he does. I said before in the starting 11 show, which might be out or it might be out tomorrow. But I said before, this is a bit of a weird game because, and I don't want to say must win because it's it's November, and must-win games come later on. But you know how people were saying the Palace game felt like a must-win, which I disagree with again. I don't think it was a must-win. I think it's a needed win. I think it needed to be won, but then all games need to be won, really. But I think it was a good opportunity to win in front of the home crowd. I think this is another needed one. It's a good opportunity to get fans buzzing again after deflating losses, like the Leicester game or the Newcastle game. You got to sort of give the fans another bounce, because after this, again, I don't want to say must win, but if we lose to Bournemouth tomorrow, and then we play Bournemouth again in the league. So if we lose to them on a double bounce, heads will fall off during the winter break. Fans' heads will fall. I think fans will, myself included, will go into the World Cup thinking just really deflated, really deflated, which will be a shame. And then obviously, we've got we just got to hope we beat Celtic in Western Sydney, haven't we, and get the morale back up in Australia. But then we play Wolves, which again is Wolves are out of favour, so I wouldn't worry. I'm not saying it's a must win. Like we get beat tomorrow and we get beat Saturday and we're down. I didn't do that once last season. I was never confident we go down last season, so I'm definitely not doing that in November. Like I said, the winter break's a brilliant time if your players aren't going to fix any problems. Frank Lampard's got a month, a month and a bit to fix any problems that Everton have. And I expect us to come back a little bit better because we're not sending all our lads to the World Cup unlike some of the other teams. So there should be a lot of training. We've got the Australian tour. So yeah, but yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel, but it feels not like a must win, but like we could really do with doing a double here. Win this, win the league, then go off to the tour. Let the World Cup happen, and people come back then a bit more. End on a high sort of mentality. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's probably the best thing for us to do. And I don't want to say because it's the famous last words, isn't it? But I would argue Bournemouth, no disrespect to them, but I would argue we should probably have enough to see off Bournemouth. Looking through their squad now, they've got Neto, who's injured, who's a fantastic goalkeeper, but he's injured. And that's a shame. They've got Gary O'Neill as their manager, so they've not even got a manager yet. They've still got a temporary manager after sacking Scott Parker, which feels like a lifetime ago. So they played that Travers in goal against Leeds. They played Fredericks. I'll just do it off the Leeds game. They played Fredericks, Mepham, Senesi, Smith, Billing, Cook, Lerma, Tavernier, who had a good game, Solanke and Kiefer Moore. And then you got Jack Stacey, Junior Stanislas, and Joe Rothwell on the bench that came off from the bench. Then you've got the likes of Ben Pearce, Ryan Christie, Jack Stevens. With the all due respect to Bournemouth, this isn't a very good squad. I would argue it is a championship squad. I would argue it's a top 6 championship squad, which is why they're here in the Premier League and got promoted. But I wouldn't say this is a Premier League squad. There's a lot of aging players in this side. There's a lot of players that lack a bit of pace. Adam Smith is 31, and I probably would argue shouldn't really be a left back. Travers is not a very good backup keeper. Ryan Fredericks is now 30. Playing Billing, a centre mid, CDM out wide is an interesting one, but I think that's just like a thingy. And then the rest of the squad just don't like. Lewis Cook's 25, he's still young, but he's not somebody I'd argue has lots of pace. Lerma's not one that I think is blessed with the pace. Mepham's another. Tavernier's a good buy, but then they've got Kiefer Moore. Again, a big unit, wouldn't class him as a pacey lad. and Dominic Solanke, who I don't think I've ever fully rated Dominic Solanke, to be completely honest with you. But this squad for me isn't good enough for the Premier, and it's certainly not a squad that we should be getting beat by. This is Everton though, so, and I'm not saying we're a good squad. There are still things that need to be fixed in our squads, and some players that I still think we need to, or positions we need to improve on. But we should be beating Bournemouth realistically. I'd actually be more worried about the league, because if we beat them in the cup, they're gonna know firsthand the game plan, and then the whole point then will be drilling. Let's not do that again. So but Bournemouth have lost the last 4 matches, haven't won a match in 5 attempts. Saying that, we haven't scored in 3 away matches and haven't scored in the last 2 matches. It is away, both games, but especially tomorrow. So it is tough. Let me know how you feel about this double fixture as well. It's a very rare occurrence. It's a very Football Manager-esque thing to happen. It happens all the time on Football Manager, but very rarely in real life, where you play someone in the cup and then you've got them at the weekend. When I saw that we're playing Bournemouth twice in 1 week, I was like, it's not, in a weird way, it's nice, because it just doesn't happen that often, but it's very FM. Going through some of your comments, Erwin said he'd try and sell Keane. Yeah, I think Michael Keane's career at Everton is done. Michael Keane's career is done. Wonderless has put, let's get at these for both games of the double. Exactly, we've got to be at these. We've got to be. I want to say we're better than them, because it's a curse then. And then if we lose, I look like a real silly person. But we are better than them, and we shouldn't be losing. I don't think losing to these in either game is really an acceptable result, and I think it'll leave a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. That boy put, I'd sell Decore, Keane, and Mina to get some forwards. I'd definitely sell Mina and Keane. I think Decore still has something to offer this side, because if you get rid of him, then it's only Tom Davis that's our backup, and Garner. And I don't know, I think Decore's just been struggling at the minute, but I think when it clicks for him, it clicks, and he does run. He's got legs, got a lot of energy. I personally would want to keep Decore. That boy's also put, we would win against Bournemouth. The only thing that makes me worry as well is obviously it's away from home. Records aren't great with us. Erwin's put a centre-back partnership of Mina and Holgate. That's tough. David P put, yeah, they scored 3 against Leeds. Leeds have a new keeper. No, I'm on about Bournemouth's keeper. Leeds' keeper is still Meslier. But Neto's injured, so they've got Travers, who I don't think is a very good keeper. They did score 3 against Leeds, but this is a Leeds again. Jesse Marsh is apparently under a bit of pressure. I think unfair pressure, by the way. I don't think Leeds are doing that awful. They gave Bielsa time. They can give Marsh time. Yeah, this is a struggling Leeds that they've scored against. Don't get me wrong, we're a struggling team at times as well. I'm not saying that like we're City. But I still think looking at the Bournemouth squad, I still think it's very top 5 championship material. That boy said 2-0 win. David B said he wants the points and said if we don't beat Bournemouth, it'll be horrible news. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my worry, mate. It's horrible to think that basically heads are going to turn and people are going to be quite annoyed, quite rightly annoyed. And we should be beating teams like this. Honestly, just an honest review of it. I know that's not always the case, but we should be beating teams like this. Alex has pushed Seldom. Again, it's an unfortunate thing where he's our best striker. I think he's way better than Moipai. I think Moipai fires blanks a bit too often for me as a striker. But I think you'd struggle to get money for Dominic Calvert-Lewin now, in the same way I think you'd struggle for Yerry Mina. I didn't want to say that he's injury prone, but like the more he picks up injuries, the more it is starting to look a bit cursed for him. Nobody's going to be paying high amounts for a striker that can't stay fit. And I don't know what it is with Calvert-Lewin. I don't know if it's his body. I don't know what's wrong with his body, but it is such a shame because when he's fully fit, and we saw shades of it against Crystal Palace, but when he's fully fit, he's one of our better players. He links up play well. He doesn't not just the scoring, the way he links up, the way he can head the ball. He suits our team very well as a focal point in the build up and bringing others into play. So I think it's just tough at the minute. It's a shame. It really is a shame. But yeah, tomorrow though, like I said, it's away. It's away, so there's always that worry. I will do the danger men for Bournemouth, the ones that I think we do have to worry about. Even though I've just sort of said that they're not very good. I think the danger men are honestly probably that Tavernier, Marcus Tavernier. Got two. He played well against Leeds. I will say this: Bournemouth scored in the last two. Scored against Bournemouth. Marcus Tavernier got an assist there as well. Maybe Kiefer Moore as well, but you know, with Tarkowski and Cody, but more specifically Tarkowski. If you can keep Mitrovic quiet, who's like your old classic centre forward, then he'd hopefully be able to keep Kiefer Moore a bit silent. But this Tavernier just he picks up so many assists for Bournemouth. I'd say he's one of their more creative players, and I think he's going to be a bit tough to control down that left hand side. I think he's going to be a really tough lad. I can't remember if we were linked with him. We might have been. I think we might have been, but I can't quite remember. But yeah, his stats for this season are, not that impressive because he's got 14, 1 goal, 3 assists, but they've all come within the last couple of games. So you could argue he's an informed player, which is one of the things you absolutely hate, don't you? You don't want to play a team where a player's in form. So we'll have to be a bit wary of him and possibly Kiefer Moore as well. Possibly Kiefer Moore, just because he's a bit of a battering ram striker, a bit like Mitrovic. But like I said, Tarkowski's a big lad. He should hopefully be able to keep that. Solanke, 3 goals and 3 assists in 12 games. Again, that's nothing to shout home about, and I don't think he's a very good player. We have to be careful of Solanke, though, because of who he is, who he played for. Absolutely guaranteed to get a goal against us, written in the stars, classic Everton, however you want to call it. And Kiefer Moore, 14 games, 3 assists. So you can tell that the running theme here is their strikers aren't scoring a lot of goals. Bournemouth themselves, I don't think are sort of scoring massively in the league. I don't think their goal difference is that great. But they've got a lot of goals in the last 2 games. They've got 3 against Leeds, 2 against Spurs. They have scored so far this season 15 and conceded 32. In comparison, we've scored 11 and conceded 14. We have a goal difference of -3. They have a goal difference of -17. So they leak goals quite badly. We don't. But this is why it'll be interesting. So we're a team that is struggling to score, I think is fair to say. Playing a team that are leaky, which is, and they can score, so it'll be interesting to see how they do when they attack us. But more interesting is we struggle in attack. They're quite leaky in defence. It has the paper talk of a stalemate. Hopefully it's not as well. It won't be in the cup, but hopefully the league's not a stalemate. I don't want to draw either. Really, but yeah. So that's sort of where the level is at it. There's a team that are a very leaky team and a team that struggle to score. Who's gonna come out with the win there? Who's gonna manage to break the deadlock? Wonderlust has put, I'm gonna to keep that Everton, that mentality at bay. Yeah, that's why I don't want to do it. I don't want to say Everton that about Solanke, but if there was ever, like, I hate, but you know, when people say it's fate and it's just cursed and it's, and like classic Everton, and it just, yeah, I mean, I hope I'm wrong, and it doesn't happen all the time. I'm pretty sure when we played Sheffield United, I'm pretty sure Brewster was playing for them and didn't score. Instead, it was that 17-year-old last time they were in the league. Owens put up the toffees. Yeah, hopefully, mate. Honestly, I think it's they're winnable games. I think they're winnable games. The interesting one is who are our danger men. No, Calvert-Lewin's a big loss for us, so we sort of depend on Moipai, who I'm not fully convinced on. Looking at Neil Moipai now, his stats for this season are 9 and 1 goal in the league, which is he's never scored more than 10 goals in a league though. And I said this when we bought him. I said this when we did it. So he started 5, was subbed in for 4, subbed out for 4. He's played 480 minutes, which isn't a lot of minutes, to be fair to him. His XG is 1.7, so you could argue he should really have maybe 2 goals to his name. He's had 3 shots on target, 4 off target, created 4 chances, attempted dribbles 6. I think this is one problem, is that he's always struggled finishing his chances. He's always got a high XG compared to his goals, which means he's not finishing the easier chances. He should always have more goals from his XG than he does do. But I think the other problem is it's going to be low because he's going to have to get a shot away. And I think we struggle creatively, which doesn't help him. I think it'd help him a lot more if we could create more. And I think that's a problem with Calvert-Lewin as well. He's not been getting many shots away, but it's because we're not creating enough chances for them either. We can talk about how impotent we are in attack, but they've got to have the chances, but to put away and the opportunity. So it's a double-ended, isn't it, sort of thing. If we're not creating, they're not going to get shots and they're not going to score. Coincidentally, Calvert-Lewin has 1.5 XG and 1 goal, so you could argue maybe he should have 2, but also 1 is probably fair. But yeah, I think we need a couple more creative players in January, because then you look behind, and I'll be honest, Anthony Gordon works hard, got a couple of goals early on in the season, works hard. I think there's still a lack of an end product at bits for the wingers. Including Gordon. I don't think his crossing ability / passing is always there. He can finish. He's proven he can finish. He chases stuff down. He works hard, so he will get rewarded, because if you work hard, you get rewarded in football. If you chase everything like he can do, you will get sort of like his goal from the rebound off Mikolenko the other week. If you follow stuff up like that, you will get rewarded. Damari Gray, for me, is the one that I'm not too impressed with. I think his crossing's poor. And I think he's struggling. I think he's really struggling. I personally would maybe drop him and play either Vinagre or McNeil. I don't think Damari Gray should be playing tomorrow. Dwight McNeil's another one, though, that when he's come on, he's not been brilliant, but I think he still deserves a chance. I think he's possibly one of our better crossers. So if you're going to play Calvert-Lewin, he'd be better. But bearing in mind we're not going to, I'd still argue maybe him or Vinagre down that left. And then in midfield, I'm looking forward to seeing James Garner get a full game. We've seen very cameoed appearances from him. I think maybe the 45 minutes he played the other day is the longest he's played. He's played 137 minutes. Made 73 passes, no real chances created. But I'm excited to see him play, as he's meant to be more of that playmaker type midfielder, and a deep line playmaker. We need somebody who can spray the ball about a bit. Which is why I also think we've got to start Iwobi. He's our more creative player. His stats for this season are fantastic. We can't afford to not play him. And I don't know who like I said, Tom Davies isn't that type of player. That leaves looking at this, maybe Stanley Mills, but I don't think Stanley Mills will play. I think he'll be on the bench. And it's a lot of pressure to expect, if you drop a Wobie, to expect a lot of our creativeness to come from a young lad like that. So it is an interesting one. I think he's got a tough choice with that squad. Not helped by injuries, obviously, but we need to find a way to be creating more. And I think basically, I think the World Cup does us a favour, because the next time we play then after that is Boxing Day against Wolves. Then like 5 days after that, that January window hits, and we've just got to go get creative midfielders and maybe a couple more wingers, creative wingers, but definitely couple more creative centre mids / attacking mids. Maybe a number 10, because we can't keep it on a Wobie, so we do need to go out there and get more players for that sort of mould. Like I said, we were linked with Ericsson, but I don't think we're ever going to get him. But he would have been really good. He'd have been almost like a Rodriguez when he was here, that sort of midfielder that will just find passes. He'll just think something up out of nothing. And it's such a luxury player to have. I think that's the type of player Ericsson would have been, but hopefully would have played more games and not gone on Twitch and said silly things. But we'd never have got him, so there's no real point covering him. But that type of player, we were linked with Isco, but I'm a little bit worried that Isco's with the physicality of the Prem sort of thing. Reading back some of your comments now, David Beast, but if Gray plays, how many will he sky? I think 1. He'll shoot the ball back more than cross or shoot. He'll play the ball back. Yeah, see this, and David Beast put McNeil over Nagre. I think that's the problem, isn't it? I think a couple of people are realising that Damari Gray's struggling, and it's the passing back. It's the balls going miles over people's heads. We need to sort of create more from the wings. Wonderless has put the World Cup is nonsense. All I care about for that is Canada. I also think it's not a bit silly. I think it's very silly. I think it's Manchester United. They worked out the other day, if they don't get kicked out of all their competitions, there's just no place to find the fixtures that have been cancelled. We still haven't played Arsenal. Don't know when that's going to happen. But United's schedule is now fully booked if they go all the way in all the competitions, which I don't think they will do. But the premise is still there. There's games that won't be played because of it. It's just so. Ignore the ethical and moral stuff behind it, which is another big worthy argument in itself. The logistics of the Premier League, it is very, very silly. But I think it benefits teams. If you're going to sort of try and hyperbole it to an Everton scenario, I think it benefits us. I really do, because, Pickford will probably go. Well, almost definitely go. And then I don't think, as much as they said about Tarkowski going, I don't think Tarkowski is going to go. I don't know all the teams that are going to the World Cup, so ignore my ignorance if I don't say a player who will definitely get in their squad, because I don't know who's going. So I'm just going to assume everybody's going, even though I know some of these aren't. So I think Nathan Patterson, I believe Scotland might have qualified for it over the Ukraine. Might be wrong there. I don't know if Colombia did, but I don't think Mina will go because of his injuries. Patterson, I'm hoping won't go, but maybe he does now because he's fit. That one worries me because of right back. But a lot of our lads here are English, and I don't think they get in. So Tom Davis, McNeil, Garner, I don't think they get in. I don't know if Senegal qualified, but Idrissa Gueye would go. Onana might not go. I know Roberto Martinez likes him, but I don't know if he likes him that much. Again, I don't know if Nigeria qualified. I've not been keeping up with the qualifiers. It's very hard. I'm just going to wait till the maps are out on the coming papers, the tournament maps that you can fill in, and that's probably, I'm going to, if I watch it, because it's awkward times and stuff. Decore, again, I don't know if Mali qualified. And then you've got Calvert-Lewin's probably not going to go. I don't think Anthony Gordon's going. Damari Gray's not going. Moipai's not going. Rondon's not going. There's a lot. I think there's probably about 3-4 players that might go from Everton. The rest aren't. Perfect time to, whatever Lampard wants to implement, maybe he wants to change some stuff. Got a month to do it, month to drill these lads. And you've got all the youth lads that are staying, which is what David B's put. He's put, what about youth players? I think there's every chance for some youth players. He did say he's gonna put the bench with a lot of young lads. I think we'll see Stanley Mills get some game time. I think we'll see Tom Cannon get some game time, possibly. It depends on the result, obviously. If we're losing 1-0, he's not going to whack on a bunch of young lads, because that would almost definitely cause a riot. Twitter would absolutely implode. I think maybe we see Reece Welsh, maybe even Kyle John at right, to bring on, maybe for Patterson later on. Might see Kyle John. He'll bring on some of the lads that played against played in the pre-seasons against Blackpool and some of them. And I imagine some of those young lads are going to get game time in the pre-season tour as well, just because why not? Why not? When's a better time than in pre-season to sort of bring them on? But he did say he'll play some of the younger lads, which is, I'm interested. I'm excited to see some of them. I think Stanley Mills is a player that a lot of people like, don't they? A lot of people seem to like Stanley Mills, which is an interesting. Which he looks to be an interesting player. I'd have loved. This was the type of game where you'd have seen Sims or Dobbin, but obviously they've gone out on loan, so we wouldn't see them. It's a shame because this is the type of game where you'd like to give them some game time, but at least Tom Cannon does. He's another good young player, seems to have the right attitude. I'm pretty sure we might have renewed his contract this season. Not too sure on that. Said it was pretty sure. Now backtracked very quickly. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see those young lads get some game time. That boy said he'd play Mills and Gordon. Yeah, I mean, I think now's the best chance, isn't it? If you're a young lad, if you're Stanley Mills, and you're watching Everton in the league, and now, and you're watching how much we struggle creatively, I think you sit at home and you think, I need one chance to prove myself. Because you must sit at home and think, not that you're better than them, but you must think, this is a prime opportunity for me to really push myself. So hey guys, don't forget to like. Oh, I'm back. Sorry, my Wi-Fi went down. I'm probably going to end it there, though, guys. Don't forget to like the stream as well before you leave. Massively appreciated. Like the video if you're watching it back on YouTube. Comment down below on YouTube if you're watching your score predictions. You can do it as well here in the chat if you want before we head out. I'll head out, but I'll read them as I'm heading out. But yeah, don't forget to let me know all that. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Yeah, comment down below your score predictions. Hopefully we win tomorrow and then manage to do the double over them on Saturday. See you guys very, very soon.